Evening gamer, that's Guy.
And that's Taylor over there.
I wanted to spring that on you. Just
yeah,
you
sprung it.
He just looks up at me with these big eyes. Like, what the fuck?
Okay. Episode 20. Changing up the content.
It is episode 20.
It is. The big 2-0.
The big 2-0. Yeah, changing up the content. First rant episode.
You've been listening to us for 20 episodes.
Just reviewing games.
And now we're going to rant about
Well, to be fair,
topics.
Reviewing games ended up being like 40% of it, but yeah.
I would say more.
Yeah?
I would say as high as 80%.
We worked some pop culture in there.
There was a little bit, like a couple of eps here and there that we talked about some other stuff.
Coming off Spider-Man 2, first rant episode, I got some topics.
Yeah, I've got one very specific topic.
One very specific topic.
Yes.
Guy didn't share his topics with me.
I did.
I went to share my topics with him, and he went, "Oh, wait, what?"
Because I want the fresh, response time.
We're feeling this out.
Where like we start, because I got a bit of a drive into mine, and I'm curious to see a reaction to it.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm happy with that. I think we're feeling this out together. This is the first round episode.
Yeah, I mean, but it's pretty clear in that here's a topic that we're annoyed by that we want to complain about.
I wrote down like 3 or 4, but as an intro to this sub-series, we're going to try to keep this to 30 minutes. So these are going to be kind of chick-bang episodes.
Cut down,
I mean? Yeah. No pillars, no numbers, no reviews.
Just bring a topic to the table
Just bring a topic to the table and see how you fucking go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Straightforward.
Before we do get into that though, do we have any correct me if I'm wrongs? Oh, there was one thing. It was just a slip of the tongue last week, but you said that we rated Sekiro 3.5, but it was Senua's Saga. I was listening back and I was like, Sekiro got like fucking 9.
Good you to keep me on my toes. Yeah, you can't remember saying that at all.
Yeah. Did you listen to the episode, mate?
I did listen to the episode. I got good feedback. It was a good episode.
Oh, nice.
So
Love a bit of live feedback.
Take that.
I don't think we have any other correct me if I'm wrongs though.
No, I don't think so.
And I don't think there's many life events happening. And I don't think rant is the time and place for life events, is it?
No. we could talk about generally what's going on in the world. I mean, Biden dropped out.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, Biden dropped out because he's fucking...
I think
he
as
was
soon as
born
Obama,
in 1890.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump's only born 4 or 5 years past him, but as soon as Obama was like, I don't know. I mean, politics is a bit of a topic for me,
Yeah.
so anyway, I don't want to,
Oh, you know what I did do? I went searching for another funny review. Didn't find one, but I found something better. Well, I didn't find it. Someone actually wrote in with a funny story.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you want me to go through that?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I'd love to.
I think if we can cover like really funny instances in games, maybe like glitches or like funny ways to die or anything funny that's happened, that'd be good. So AJ17 sent this in. You ready for this? This had me in stitches. Once I was playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. On a mission, I had to investigate a particular ship making its way into the docks. Benjamin Hornigold, which is a hell of a name,
Hornigold,
had me interrogate one of the sailors to get information. Upon launching the mini cutscene, the game started glitching, throwing Edward's hands around by his waist in an up and down rounding motion. Simultaneously, the NPC, whom I was intimidating, started begging for me to stop and not harm him. From over-the-shoulder angle, it looked as though Edward was profusely jacking off the NPC while he begged me to stop. This went on for about 10 minutes because I couldn't stop laughing and press the A button.
It's funny now that like games have gotten so advanced that those moments tend to happen less and less.
There's nothing funnier than a good glitch, though.
Oh yeah, like one like that. But it's a rarity nowadays. I watched a clip the other day that was. I feel like it is more than
No
it
Man's
used to be.
Sky lately, bro, and I can't I can never land my ship because it hasn't loaded yet.
Yeah, but
and
it's
I
more
fall
that like
through the floor.
Semi-cutscene situation where a silly kind of thing is going on or in the background. But you know what's a good one? Red Dead's quite good for that.
Yeah, you've seen that one where the guy
just trying the different weapons and he's shooting the bad guy at the end of the game.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So like you turn up and it's when you're killing not Vanderlyn but Dutch or I don't know, one of his offsiders is number 2. And you go into the mission and you sort of whatever gun you have open, you kind of shoot him and you can quick time it. But of course, by that point, you could use any gun you want. So some people are rocking up with like the double barrel shotgun and just blowing his head off. But then what happens in the story, it's like a set sequence, is he kind of stumbles around, puts his hand out, and then collapses forwards. And so then the guy was trying more and more weapons, and so he's got like a bow and arrow and just shoots him like right in the eye.
Oh my God.
And then he collapsed on the ground, and then the next one they did was like he shot him with like the most heavy artillery weapon. His whole torso was blown off.
Oh my God.
And then the smoke is still evaporating from where his mouth would be because it's in the snow.
I've never done that. I've never like just stayed on a game like that. There are so many people that just stay on a game like that and just find different ways to do things. I tend to move on.
Yeah, I do it once and then that's it, you know.
Yeah. I've seen the one where someone drinks like 10 beard tonics or facial hair tonics before they go into a cutscene, and Arthur just continuously, his facial hair just continuously gets longer and longer throughout the cutscene.
Or where you pick the most ridiculous outfit just to see it in silly cutscenes and stuff like that. It's always good.
It's like that meme where it's like, you introduce someone new to the game and then you come along and you're fully armored up and you look like a fucking psycho and everyone else says, no. Yeah.
I was playing Diablo with the missus and like we both started a new character, played it for a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I'll show you the character that I've been playing with, switched over, and she was like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, monstrosity of a character.
5,000 gaming hours. Yeah,
not quite that bad, but yeah,
love that. All right, let's go on to the first topic. Let's do yours because
you want to do mine first.
I'm fucking anxious about it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So after I finished Spider-Man 2, I was looking at my list of games that I wanted to play next.
Yeah,
and I had a couple of options on there. I'll list them out. So it was Deathloop was one of them.
Yeah.
Then Resident Evil 4. I was debating going back to Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm-hmm. You tried Dragon's Dogma.
I did. I tried Dragon's Dogma for a hot minute. I just could not do it. We've talked about it before, but I know the element of not having, like, it's written into the game, fast traveling.
Yeah.
And, like, then you've got to use the fucking horse and carriages or whatever to get anywhere, but you're constantly getting ambushed, and it just... It annoyed me. Like back when we played it, I was like, oh, that's really like creative. They've kind of put it into the game and you don't have infinite resources to jump around the map. But now you're just like, oh, this is so cumbersome. I'm running the same trails constantly to go back and forth for mission markers, and it just
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, it wore me down. So there was a couple of other games, and so basically I was like, all right, like I got to pick one of these. You've recommended Deathloop to me, so I was like, all right, I'll give it a go.
Great game.
So I loaded up. And the opening sequences, you know, waking on the beach, you sort of go up to this thing, you get a gun, you're sort of moving your way through it and sort of discovering what is the death loopy kind of thing of the game.
Yeah. And
you kind of go through 3-ish quite large areas to get to a point where the game really opens up and it kind of makes sense now. And you kind of then land back on the beach and you've got the full capability of changing the time of day, which map you're going to load into. You have to figure out the sequence of events.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm sort of hit with a fucking sensory overload of menus. Just so many menus of this is the weapon upgrade, this is your power upgrade, this is your clues, this is your sub clues, this is your quest, this is your side quest, and it was just flicking through these things. I just was like, it's too much. Like it's like the collecting of clues and the text, the amount of text that you could read to kind of figure this game out. Discovering all the little bits in it. And Deathloop, clearly is a game for the investigator of finding these sort of little niches, in nooks and crannies throughout the game world.
Yeah. Which
is fine. I get it. Okay. I get it. And to be honest, this game is probably not the one that is the pin-up sort of game for what I'm about to sort of dive into complaining about. But as I sort of touched on there, it is the excessiveness of menus and the lack of polish on fucking navigating them.
Yeah.
There's nothing more infuriating than being in a game and going, one, it's going to take me 5 hours to read all this just sub-information, sub-content that doesn't really add all that much to the story of the game. And the navigating the menu is frustrating. And yeah, it pissed me off. And I was playing it with my housemate, my partner, sort of watching it. And even the pair of them were like, holy shit. Like it was just layer upon layer upon layer of these fucking menus.
That's weird for me because Deathloop, I didn't find it overwhelming at all. I would say Cyberpunk was 10 times more heavy.
Yeah, so I'm not saying, as I said, Deathloop isn't the pin-up for this, but it was the thing that kind of...
This is kind of a let me finish moment,
kind of brought me to this opinion. So Where am I up to with this? Da-da-da-da. So, I mean, there's a lot of times I feel like with games, the UI and user interface is something that's rather close to my heart because I work in sales. I run a CRM. I'm constantly trying to make it more efficient for my team so they can navigate this stuff faster.
I guarantee you, UI is important to everyone. If you look into a platform and it's a shit UI and it just looks
But it's
bad.
an interesting thing that, like, with reviewing games, you're not reviewing the UI. You're reviewing whilst you're playing the game, the actual content of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's how rare do you actually sort of discuss, well, Red Dead, flicking between the various menus, and you know that one I would say is a relatively good one, but more often than not, these UIs are probably more like an afterthought. You know, it's not where they're spending a lot of their time and energy polishing the actual playing of the game. You know, in some of these games, and I did a bit of research to pinpoint sort of one of the ones that people said were particularly good or particularly bad. Black Ops came up a fair bit, you know, where the menu is kind of written in and it's creative. It's a little bit different. You're engaged with it. And oddly enough, you know, the menu of a game is the opening sort of introductory to the game. When you load it up for the first time, what do you see? You know, what is the first sort of impression that you're going to get to play this game? Is there music overflowing it? Is your character standing there? Is the character moving? Are you sort of getting the options of the menu a sort of move when you click on them? These kind of little moment kind of things kind of add to the experience of playing these games. You know, but when you come across one and you know it when you feel it, and I haven't sort of done a deep dive to go, what are the ones that really stand out as the annoying ones that do frustrate you? Like there's sometimes, I feel like Dragon's Dogma might be a good example where you're kind of switching through, and if you're accidentally clicking L1, R1 when it should be analog left, right, kind of those little things, and then once you're in the menu, switching between the menu, it just can become really frustrating. And I think in this day and age, a good game has a good UI. They've thought about it. They've polished that and the rest of the game. And I'm curious to sort of, you know, put this out there as a topic. And sort of you do a bit of research, and there's plenty of YouTubers and articles that kind of talk about the good ones. But I'd love to sort of put it to our listeners to go, give us your bad ones. Give us your good ones. Give us the ones that you particularly liked, that you particularly disliked. You know, I'm very curious to hear about it, which, you know, I know we usually do questions from a hat at the end, but I'm curious that in a game that even if I fucking love the game, I seldom will read every scrap of fucking paper you pick up in a game. If I pick up a book, you know, like, and a lot of times there'll be books in games, and the books will have multiple pages that you're flicking through, where it's like it's a lore overload. And I'm
like
sure
Remnant, there are like so many like
Remnant's a great example where there's so much in there, and you're just like, I'm sorry, like I just this is not why I'm playing games. You know, like it is, but it's not. It's like the story is super important. I love the story being important, but it's like it gets to a point where you go like, you've done too much. You've gone too far, and particularly when it's text based. Like I don't have a predisposition against reading fucking text and books, but I'm not playing it to read a fucking book. You know, I'm playing a video game, you know, and I just don't want to get this like, learn all about this sub-character that means nothing, that adds little value you're not interested in, and read all about their silly little fucking stories.
There's also the argument there that's like, you don't have to do that. Like, what's the gripe here? The UI and the menus?
Well, the gripe I have is like,
just the law.
Well, no, the gripe specifically is menu navigation and it being poorly done and user interface. But it led me to kind of think about lore and text written into games and how those can often be really excessive as well. You know, and just, like I suppose my preference, I guess, for a game like maybe a Red Dead, where it's very minimal text space but heavy on the audio character, like acting and audio written in, and you experiencing events real time as they occur, not stop everything you're doing and have your character stand there idly as the world flies by around you and read a fucking book that is irrelevant to the story. So
like you're kind of saying that you'd prefer to go on the journey visually with your character rather than reading all the little things
or
that
have
drop throughout the
like
the open world.
A monologue, two characters converse with each other is far more interesting tonally and adds to the moment of the game than it is a sit down and read scraps of paper for various silly little things. I mean, a game that I've just finished, which was very much like this, was Cyberpunk.
Like, there are so many little tablets of information. And I know that we spoke about how their developers were working over hours to get that game across. And I can see it. Like, every room and building you went into, there was another little tablet that you could pick up. And sometimes I'd have a gander and be like, I might read this quickly. And then as soon as I saw how long it was, I was like, I'm not fucking reading this.
Which, I mean, is my question from a hat of going, like, let's say you're playing the game, you love the game, you're really invested in it, you're enjoying every story of it, and then you hit these lore moments. Like, do you take the time to read them all? Or do you cliff read them? Do you skim them?
It depends. Like, for me, if I think it's important to the mission I'm doing and pertains to it directly, then look, I'll give it a go. I really like Easter eggs in games. So look, if a game's good enough, and it comes back to what I always say, especially with this, less is more in this space. If I have to cover less material and kind of find out what I need to find out, it's better. But you're right, it becomes overwhelming at some point, and a lot of games are doing it more and more, and it's just unnecessary. It's so much content that I don't consume.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the mission I'm doing, how I think it might pertain to it. Sometimes as well, you'll pick something up and the game goes, you should read that, which is what Elden Ring has gotten really good at. So like, you pick up a new map that's a really important piece of map or important piece of information. The game actually gives you a prompt that you have to say okay to, that's like, hey, that that map or that letter is in your inventory. Fucking, have a look at that. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't frustrate me, but yeah, I'm not reading all of them.
Yeah, I mean, even there's some games, I feel like Dragon's Dogma is sort of one where it's like you enter into sort of cutscenes and there's no actual dialogue. It's just at the bottom, the words appearing.
So you're talking like the old Pokemon, you got to read everything that's being said kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Pokemon was good because it was sort of, how often were you scrolling text in Pokemon? It was like, like, it was a one sentence conversation back and forth. And it's like, you've leveled up, you've evolved. And you're like, sweet. But then you get to some of these and you're like Remnant, and it's pages and pages. And like, Remnant's such a good example for this because it's like, I know there's some people out there listening to this going, no, like I read all of that. I found it really intriguing. They did a fantastic job of building. And this is, I guess, adds to the mystique and the stories that are written into the game. But when it's done well, great. When it's done poorly, I just switch off. I lose interest. It doesn't add.
Cutscenes and cinematics and voiceovers in games are still a relatively new thing. Like you even and what I mean by relatively new, I mean over the last like 10 to 15 years. Really, gaming has gone into a place where, it's 2024, maybe a little bit longer than the last 10 to 15 years. But like you think playing the 64, like when you were a kid, any of those Mario games, Super Mario, there was no voiceovers, right? So this is still a very new thing for gaming.
True, yeah. And I mean, there was a time where there was no visuals at all. It was just purely text of, the caravan, do you, save this random person or not? And it's like, all text.
What I will agree with is I think that a story that is told through text in a game isn't a story told very well because it's not a book. Right, but you read a book and it's pure imagination. You paint the picture that you want, but in a game you have that visual in front of you. And I'd agree that any story that's told to me strictly through text in a game isn't told very well, and it certainly doesn't grab me.
That would be a part of my argument. Part of my rant here is exactly what you've just said.
And like, you got to think of like the cinematics that are in Elden Ring, like some of the boss introductions. Elden Ring is just top of mind for me right now because it's out. Some of the boss introductions, right? The cutscenes when you meet bosses or even when they go into their phase 2, those cinematic experiences with some of those voiceovers are fucking incredible. It's like watching an anime. It's like watching Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time. Like, some of them are that good, and they're the moments that you pay attention to.
Yeah, or even, you arrive at a mission marker and somebody's going, right, this is the plan. This is what you got to do. You got to go assassinate X, Y, and Z. As they're describing the mission to you of what you need to do, the fly-through cutscene of just the overarching or the eagle eye of like, you got to go here and then here and you see guards and all the rest of it. You're like, okay, like, I'm interested to get through and navigate this path that they've kind of laid out tentatively in front of me. But instead, if it's just da 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 text, heavy, just like like you're not thought out well enough, in my opinion, not done well enough. I think those games where they actually do cinematics well, they're the ones more often than not people end up talking about.
Yeah,
go,
definitely.
Like, that was
and
really
you watch,
good.
and sometimes you stumble upon them again on YouTube, and you'll always watch it because you're like, that's right, that was right.
I mean, how many of those YouTube clips where it's like they've just cut together all the cutscenes, and you almost do watch it like a fucking movie or a TV show.
Can you imagine though how much developers and gaming companies and publishers save on not having to do voiceovers?
Probably significant amounts, or just to be like, here's some text, like let's just text based.
Just click through, just spam
exactly. It doesn't do much for me.
Yeah,
it annoys me, and just coming back to sort of and then like with Deathloop. I've started playing it, and I am curious. Like when I load it up next, I will go through. I'll read the clues. I'll try and get I'll give every game a go on this topic. But there comes a point where there's a tipping point where I just go, fuck it. I don't care anymore.
I think everyone has that moment in a game, especially when you're kind of halfway through it and you feel like you know the story enough, and then they put all these extra things in front of you, and you're just like, oh man, I might just go do the next mission, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it'll get explained.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I'm thinking of a game like, it's been years since I've played it, but like one where you're so into it, you're so enjoying it, it's so satisfying that you do actually then be tempted to read a little bit more into the lore, you know, and take a bit of time. I'm thinking of God of War. God of War, minimal, excessive information overload in this sort of area of text-based stuff and menus and things, but you're like, fuck, this game is so good that you want more, and I will take the time on that. But you got to earn the right.
Yeah. It kind of brings me back to the question of like, how do you feel about main protagonists not speaking? Because so many games, their main protagonist never says a word. Like Zelda's a huge one like that. Like
annoys me.
Link doesn't. There are cutscenes where other NPCs speak. Link hasn't said a word.
They should stand there staring
My
down.
guy's been in games for 30 years, hasn't said a word yet.
I mean, if like a Master Chief, if that's how they're building the character and it's a stoic person, fine, whatever. Yeah. But come on, like let's.
But he
be
does
honest.
talk.
Yeah, well, he's sort of he says minimal stuff for a long periods of time, or maybe he's not the best example.
But
Link
you're right.
is the best example.
It like makes and breaks games. Can you imagine if the Master Chief had a voice that was like fucking really high pitched?
Well, yeah, I
You'd
mean,
be like,
or like look at The Last of Us. With sort of some of the characters that you play in that really polarizing. And sort of people can get really pissed off by it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. But yeah, I don't think Deathloop's the best example of being over. I see what you mean by sensory overload. There's a lot going on in that game, but it rolls it out at a good cadence that you can get across them one by one.
That's the other thing, yeah. Like if it delivers it and it does a good thing of giving you a little bit of a tutorial of like click here, click there, and you're like, okay, look, I've got it. Thanks. That's not too much, but still, it was sort of like, whoa. Like I hit a point in the game where I was like, finally, I could unlock a couple of things, and I'm now looking my way through it, and I'm like, holy shit, okay, this is a lot more than I think I thought it to be. And when I did a bit of research on this, often Bethesda games came up quite often in this list of just going menu heavy, lots of different various menus, and it's a little art form in a game itself of, how well do you navigate it? If you select, does it take you straight to the map, or have you got to go into the menu, then into the map? How many clicks does it take you to get the information you actually want?
It's also like, I think it's an attempt to bring strategy into the game, and you can't really do that without multiple menus. Here are your upgrades, here are your power-ups, here's your armor, here's your currency, here's your skill tree. Like if you want to have a game that, employs strategy, you have to have those things. Yeah. And it's kind of like finding the middle ground where it's a healthy amount of information and it's manageable. And to be honest, the perfect example is Cyberpunk did not do that well at all.
Yeah.
It did not manage that well at all.
Any game where it's like it's an RPG and there is skill trees and there's upgrading, there's leveling up and all these sort of how do you apply your skills, etc. There are games out there, and I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head, where it's like it doesn't actually tell you how to do the thing that you want to do. Like, there's sort of no button going like, oh, to do X, Y, and Z, to combine these items, you have to transmog and da-da-da-da-da or whatever it is. So you end up fucking Googling it.
Yeah.
And then you come across some article of, some Poindexter who's written it out in long
Poindexter.
form. And then you read through it and you're like, okay, sweet, whatever his name is, for explaining it all with a goddamn YouTube clip so I can actually understand how to play the fucking game.
One thing that annoys me is when I pick up a new item, having to go and find it in my inventory for games that don't have a new symbol beside new items.
Good example.
That really fucking bugs me.
Yeah, totally.
And you just spend like 10 minutes playing, where is that very important thing I just picked up?
Yeah.
And you can't even tell, like, sometimes. You're like, was it a throwing knife? Is it going to be in my weapons inventory?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Was it a pen? Was it a pen guy?
Yeah.
Is it in my key items? I can't find it.
I remember with Dragon's Dogma too, like there was some parts there where it's like the camping equipment. When you're thinking like how, like you pick one of them up and it sort of doesn't explain, or maybe it does in the goddamn lore or the deep tutorial thing for it of how those items work. But you pick one up, and then I remember chatting to my housemate, he was playing at the same time, and all his characters were running around with camping equipment when you only need one.
Yes.
You just sort of like, well, it never really tells you, does it? You just sort of, and they're all heavy.
Why
as
does
fuck.
it weigh 40 kilos? What the fuck?
I know, yeah.
Stupid. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I'll be keen to hear thoughts from listeners as well.
Yeah.
And if there's any examples of games that got it right.
I think that I'm curious to get what's the good, bad, and ugly on these ones.
Yeah.
What are ones that you really liked? What are ones that you didn't like so much? And what are the ones where you were just like, what the fuck was that? Preferably more sort of on the modern side than the older ones, where I feel like now gaming companies have kind of figured out this area and they shouldn't be trying to. They've perfected it now.
To be honest, Zelda's actually a great example. Whilst Link hasn't said a word, you get across the lore very, very well. Yeah. The menu flows incredibly well. Crafting gives you recipes.
Yeah. I think because Nintendo games are they're just not to do them under, but they're simplified. Yeah. You're the good guy, you're the bad guy. Yeah. You got to defeat him, and this is how you do it. And
I was about to say that they made simple games fun. Simple and not challenging games fun.
Yeah.
Like, I was not challenged at all by Tears of the Kingdom. In fact, I'm pretty sure the only ways I died were from fucking falling from the sky.
We were going to do an episode on Legend of Zelda, and we will at some point.
We will.
And I was doing some research on that, and a lot of their games, they're really heralded just because of the element of the introductory systems they employed.
Yeah.
Of how... new things they put into the game and how other games haven't really, it's original. It's very original.
Yeah, like transitioning in gaming is so underrated. How you navigate from, that mission that you just finished to the next one, how you fast travel, how you make that engaging. Like transitioning between, because anyone can have the pieces to a great game. Okay, here's what's going to happen in the beginning. Here's what's going to happen next. But how you get the player to seamlessly transition between those different phases whilst digesting the lore and story is so overlooked.
Definitely, because it's interesting because you see a movie or you read a book and it's like the art of the story of beginning, middle, and end, and then within the beginning there's usually 3 acts in the middle, 3 acts in the end. And that's how the fundamental building blocks of a story gets put together.
Yeah.
In video game, it's like not only is there the story, but then it's like, well, how in the game do they throw challenges at you?
Yes.
And how does it deliver the information in the means by which that the player is interested in it?
Yeah.
And some of the games, God of War, perfect example, with twists written into it, when those twists become apparent and how it gets revealed to you, and the player's like, wow, okay, that's really impressive.
Yeah, and that's why the transition is so important, and making the information you get digestible. Because otherwise you can't leave Easter eggs in games and expect it to be found on purpose. You can't have multiple different endings and give the player autonomy to choose between them without delivering the information in a digestible way.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back to, that whole, not rant, but kind of thing I said episodes and episodes ago about how games are the pinnacle art format because of how it amalgamates so many different other art styles of music, of storytelling, of visual elements. It really is sort of ticks a lot of boxes.
But yeah, it reminds me of those reels that are going around at the moment where it's like that one cutscene that you accidentally skip, and it starts with someone in the kitchen, and then the next thing they're like in a volcano, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Oh my god!
It's like you got to make the transition digestible.
Yeah.
Should we go on to mine?
Yes, let's do it.
The commercial element of gaming at the moment, and the state of it right now. When did this happen? When did gaming go from spend your money, get a game, go home, have fun, to now we fucking own you. Here's a subscription model. Here's a battle pass every other month.
Wow.
Here's gems if you want in-game currency. Like, I just feel like the space between consumer and producer has narrowed so much.
Yeah.
You feel like, for example, Respawn at the moment. I feel like Respawn just have their hands in my pockets if I want to play the game. It's like they're just sitting on the opposite end of the screen, hands in my pockets, being like, "Are you enjoying the game? Do you want to leave a fucking survey? Do you want to give us some feedback? Hey, here's a recolor of a skin for $58. Do you still like this game?" It's like, you know what? I kind of do. But you're pushing me away here, and even like what we were talking about the other week with like deluxe editions for games. When did that happen?
Yeah.
When did the skeleton of a game become $110 and the full game become $180? Yeah. When, like, what?
Any games with like price locked things out that is actually game content usually gets like review bombed pretty hard, you know. And the problem though, I think, is it's a generational one, because all of us who grew up playing games as games were sort of rising to their position in society are really steadfast in going, I'm not going to give them any money for a fucking reskin. I'm just not. I refuse, but blatantly refuse, because, you know, it is just a fucking NFT that you don't own, that's in the fucking game that you never play again. But it's the generations beneath us who grew up and this was standard practice. This is just the way it is. And they go, "Oh, that character's really cool." And they don't have the sort of cognition or realization that this wasn't always what it was, you know, that it took effort and time to unlock something. Now it's just pay your way,
which for me was like so disappointing. Like The Descendant, that new game that came out, yes, it was free, but I would have had no problem paying like $80 for it to just be a fucking good game. And I don't think other hundreds and thousands of gamers would have had a problem with that as well. But you jump on, it's free, and you're like, okay, I can see there's actually a grind here. It looks good. I want to like start grinding to some weapon skins. Do I have to get certain kills? How do I get a better helmet? And it's like, you can buy one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but then that, like, what? That just takes the fun out of it. Imagine walking into your favorite sports arena and there's someone at the front that's like, "Hey, do you want to pay $50 and you don't have to watch and your team wins?" And you're like, well, I'm kind of here for the journey. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to just skip. I don't want to just skip to the last page of the book. I wouldn't have fucking.
It's an interesting concept, because it's like, okay, so I mean, this is capitalist, you know, at its core. Of going, how do we bring more money out of this product? And the way the easy way out is, let's just code in some recolors, some new outfits, blah, 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 and we'll get some buyers on this. But I feel like gaming companies, you know, the time and effort involved of going, we're going to release a DLC, you know, a story-driven change up. You can get new stuff written into the game. It's a $30, $40 increase, is the means by which you should probably do it.
Absolutely. More content, more money. Fine. I have no problem with that. But like, you play The Descendant and your friend, the person that's the best should have the best shit and look the best, because they're the best. You now log into a game and there's a guy that looks like an absolute boss and you're like, you're not the best.
Yeah.
You just spent the most money.
Yeah.
I hate that it's going that way.
I remember like the Halo of old. It was like you could get that specific helmet if you'd collected the skulls and defeated the game on ultra difficulty. And when you played multiplayer, it was like everybody knew, fuck this guy. You know, he's put some hours into this. He's done a thing in the game that a lot of people would tap out and go, "This is too hard." Nowadays, it's like you just spent the most money.
And it just, I don't know. It just really gripes me right now that it's like that. It's just taking it to a place it's not about leveling up, which is our message behind this entire thing.
Yeah. I really enjoy the Reddit pages that call games out for this and try to encourage players not to fall into the traps of these things and give the gaming companies this excessive amount of money. I mean, it's a tough one because, like you kind of go, this is how they're hoping to maybe afford to pay the developers to create a fantastic game. Yeah. There's some games where it's like, if it's not done to excess, to such a fucking annoyance. Like there's some of those games you play and it's like, okay, if you want to unlock a couple of items or something like that, you have to spend $10 and then it gives you 15 globs. And to fucking unlock this item, you need 18 gloves. So then you got to fucking double buy twice to unlock the fucking item.
Oh my
so it's
God.
like they've even gone to the lengths of calculating, forcing you to double buy. But then what they know you're going to do is if you double buy the fucking gloves, which is the worst currency in a game I've come up with, you double buy that shit. And then you find yourself with excessive. Now you've got 8 gloves, and you're like, well, if I want to buy this thing, I need two more. So I'm going to get another fucking thing.
Fucking globs.
Goddamn globs.
I know what you mean. Here's something to think about, gamers. Next time you go to buy a skin in a game, just know that on that game, one day you will buy the last thing on that game. Ever. So before you go and buy something, think that thing you're about to buy might be the last one.
Yeah.
And if it is, keep your money in your pocket.
Yeah, it's so like for games like a Fortnite, Apex, I can kind of get my head around it.
No, see, I can't. Before you finish your point, I think BRs have taken gaming here because they release a BR and they go, "This is now a cash cow, right? We can just fucking have this game for the next decade. We don't." All the creativity's done, right? Yeah. The foundation is there for the game. We just have to bring in a character every now and then, maybe build a new map, but everything else is done. Yeah. The skeleton's there, it's ready to go, and they just go cash cow. Now we can just fucking milk this. Whereas like Rockstar's still one of the best at it. They made a game, they make a good game, you pay for it. Yes, there was an online element to their latest one, but then they start development on their next game, and it's just like gaming developers and publishers and these companies have just started making BRs and games that have in-game purchases and making them cash cows as opposed to restarting the cycle. And it's weird to me because gamers have to be some of the most loyal customers ever. If you have a publisher that you love, you will buy their games.
True. Like, I feel like there are those games like, Red Dead, Rockstar, who bank the fact they know the game is good enough. They'll make their money off just the pure quantity of people who buy their game. But then there's the sellouts. And people who make games are gamers themselves, the ones who think we can get more money out of this. So where I was heading with the Fortnite and the Apex sort of stuff is, the reason why I can kind of wrap my head around it is because it's not a story-driven game. It's a rinse repeat. You're playing with your mates, and there's a level of conversation of like, oh, sick, look at that skin, that you look really cool, like you know, the way you've done your character. What I would say is to make the player base feel less like it's a fucking kick in the nuts, is to unlock skins. You have to do certain things in the game. Then, if you want to change the color of those, or now they're wearing fucking sunglasses, fine, pay a couple of bucks to change the Reese color on the achievement of the skin that you bought.
Absolutely. Recoloring, yeah, for sure. But different skins and cool armor or whatever it is in terms of unlockables should always be achievement and skill-based.
Yeah.
Always, because that's where gaming originated, especially multiplayer gaming. That's what it's all about.
Because think about with Apex, right? Where if you're playing whatever character is your main, and you then, it basically is an achievement track where it's like, to unlock this sick skin, this fucking sick skin, you have to win 1,000 games, become champion of 1,000 games. You are locking in the player base because they want the skin to then play that long to get that shit.
Exactly. And that's where your loyalty comes in. And they'll buy battle passes. But now, especially Apex, we're getting fisted on the next fucking battle pass. It's going to be like triple the price. And why don't we all come together? We have so much power as consumers. I've always thought this from a basic principles of economics perspective. Yeah. If we all just started boycotting a product, do you know how fucking quickly they would change what they're doing?
Well, very quickly.
Literally, imagine a world where you could get everyone on board to just not buy something once, just for a week. It's like, you want to be done with palm oil and Doritos? Everyone stop buying their chips. I guarantee for a week, and watch them shit the bed. 1 week without Doritos, everyone, and we could change the fucking world. And it's just, like, honestly, there's so much power in it.
There is. And there's plenty of examples where people have mass movement being able to shift the needle in this area. This is sort of comes back to my point earlier of this generational gap, where it's the young people who have grown up with this being the standard practice that undermine it for the rest of us. And like we've referenced this before, that perfect example of StarCraft 2, when whatever the name of that whatever the company was.
I gotcha.
Yeah, they some developer on that basically said one skin in World of Warcraft made them more money than StarCraft 2's entire sales block. And you just think about that and you go, that's what's wrong. Like we've almost created our own fucking evil by people throwing their money away for these silly little trinkets.
Yeah. And man. As gamers, we should unite.
Well, we do. I mean, the Reddit pages,
yeah, you're right.
The Reddit
we actually
pages
are
fantastic.
One of the better communities.
I'm really interested to see what happens with Apex and if they actually listen to this, because the player base has dropped significantly, which is a great sign.
Yes.
And then the numbers of people actually going to pay for the battle pass also look. Hopefully, the numbers will come out and there'll be a loss, and they'll go, "We have something really good here. Why are we fucking with this?"
Yeah. 7 out of 7 people that I know play Apex and I've played with in the past, all 7 of us are not buying the Battle Pass next season.
You know, I mean, if we can encourage any listeners to also follow that lead, do it, you know.
Because you will see change. I guarantee you take money from their pocket for once, they'll change.
Yeah.
Guarantee you.
I love those games where, and there's plenty of them that you can think of examples where it's like they get to a point where they go, thank you for the sheer support and the player base that we've built. Here is a holiday special, a holiday item. Yeah. Everybody gets it. They're actually in tune with their player base and actually considering some of these things. Like I'm thinking of when we were playing Deep Rock Galactic. You know, they have a whole little seasonal event where it's written into the game. You do a little fucking side quest in it and you unlock some nice little hats and shit like that. It's nice. That's a good little thought to give back to the gaming community who's paying your fucking bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. Well, geez, that was a good rant.
Great rant. Love that.
Yeah, that was decent. Hope everyone enjoyed.
We'll
find our feet with the rant. Write in if you have any feedback on any of the questions or any opinions. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And as always, don't be an NPC.
Keep leveling up.
Thanks, everyone.